So in a couple of previous Battletech podcasts, vlogs, making our way through mechs, and we're looking at some of my clan favorites here, Jade Falcon. There are certain mechs across the spectrum, across all eras, whatever you're playing in, that just work. They're auto-includes. As you build up your mech collection, yeah, you're going to have your favorite mechs, you're going to have your favorite tactics, but there's certain backbone mechs that you want to incorporate into your collection at some point. There's also certain games where maybe you don't really know the mission ahead of time, you don't really know what you're going to face, you want a lot of tactical flexibility. Certain mechs that if you take them, they will have a role on the table. A great example of this for Inner Sphere, I start with Inner Sphere because that's where a lot of us enter into Battletech, and of course with the clans fighting the Inner Sphere and various things, it's tech we know and it's tech we're familiar with. If you look at the Battlemaster, it's solid. It excels. If you look at the Catapult, it's solid. It excels. Multiple ranges, multiple tactical options on there, multiple roles on there. A lot, I guess, flexibility. A lot of flexibility. So the Summoner. The Summoner is just well-rounded at everything. And I normally take one or two in all of my stars simply because it's just that good. It's just really, really flexible. And the key in using that flexibility is it might not excel in every single role, brawler, assault, recon, sniper mech, support mech. It's not going to knock your socks off in one specific role, but by adding a little bit of punch and being able to hold its own against every single role, that's where the advantage is. More importantly, on the converse side, if you can send up the Summoner against another mech that is weak in certain roles, is weak in certain areas, you'll have a tremendous advantage. So adaptability is huge, unless, of course, you take that super critical hit or you take that headshot on there. But that's Battletech. So we're looking at a heavy mech, good speed, it's powered by a large engine, good armor, although not as good in the hands. And on the side note, this is one of the challenges with the clans and why positioning is a little bit more... Positioning is always important, but positioning is a little bit more important for the clans because most of the weapon systems, we have redundancy. Clans like to shoot, but they're located in the arms on there. Primary weapons are located for the most part in the arms, and across every weight spectrum in Battletech, the arms tend to be the weakest. You can only mount and you can only do so much on there. So once you lose an arm, you're looking at losing one or two weapons or your primary delivery system on there. So positioning, so you don't want to really take as many hits on there. And if one arm gets really damaged, you want to use positioning to kind of take it out of the angle of attack. There's a little bit more tactica to it on there. But we have a heavy mech with jump jets, with good speed. That's going to get us into position. That's going to allow us to at least give chase, maybe not successful chase, but give chase to lighter and medium mechs. It's going to allow us to engage heavy mechs. It's going to allow us to pull out of that engagement. City fight, city tech, we're going to be able to excel there. You've got to jump down, jump up on a hill. If you want to do that death from above. Jump jets, Inner Sphere on a heavy mech are pretty rare. Jump jets overall on a heavy mech, not so common. Jump jets on the Summoner, that's a lot of tonnage going through the air. That's interesting. So now we begin with the LRM 15. And 15 is the minimum on this. Another kind of side note, but framing it, we've got 5, 10, 15, and 20. Look, yeah, of course I always want 20 packs on there, but you have weight, you have ammo, you have restrictions on there. But a 15 and 20 pack means based on the cluster hits, based on the spread of the missiles, if I roll average, that's going to be a couple of different hits, and that's going to be some decent damage for the missiles that I'm outputting. If I roll legendary, you roll legendary with a 20 pack, and it's like, wow, on there. If I roll awful on a 15 pack, it's still putting out okay damage. Not great damage, okay damage. Where if you're going with a 10 or a 5-pack LRM pack, you roll awful, it's like, okay, I really didn't do anything. You roll legendary, it's still not necessarily threatening. So 15 is that minimum threshold on there. That gives it some bite. That gives it some long range. That gives it indirect fire on there. Now, it's not a dedicated indirect type mech. I really don't the Vulture possibly on there. It's not like the Longbow or the Bombardier where you have dedicated inner sphere LRM mechs. Clans are more about mobility and exploiting and stuff. So I'm not going to park and sit back and just indirect fire with a summoner, but you could on there if it was some sort of siege mission. You could if you're just running forward in some hills and valleys or terrain and something else can spot. You could. It's a tactical option, but it's got the 15 pack. It's got the range. We complement that with an ER PPC. Side note, third footnote. You're playing Inner Sphere. You're coming to clans. It's an adjustment because PPC. I just said that word. Immediately you're like 10 heat. 10 damage, you've got the range brackets, you know what's going on, and then you realize the first 3 rounds of playing clans that you've been firing at shorter ranges with equal heat and less damage on there. No, that ER, extended range for the lasers and the PPCs, yes. So the ER PPC, that's every single turn punching out, pushing out that damage on there. It's consistent. Now, it doesn't have the redundancy. It doesn't have 2 or 4 PPCs. It's not like the Warhawk. It's not like, say, Inner Sphere, the Warhammer, or the Marauder on there. But that's consistent bite. So that means as soon as you're in range, I'm shooting the missiles, and I'm shooting that ER PPC. That is consistent, solid pressure going on you. Now we've got a choice. We've got the LB-10X autocannon. You can load it with slug, and now you've got a nice complement to the PPC. You know, my first thought, of course, being an Omni Mech, you can mix and match, and there's various designations. My first thought was, well, why wouldn't you just mount, originally approaching the summoner, mount 2 ER PPCs? So now I have, on the way in, a possible indirect, but if I have a clear line of sight, now I've got 3 weapon brackets coming down on you, long range, decent damage, consistently turn after turn after turn. So the autocannon downgrades the damage a little bit on there, so it's going to support the PPC. But now you have an option of putting in the cluster attacks on there. And what that means is, against certain targets, it's a lot more devastating. But now you have a super crit-seeking, like, steel shotgun shooting out pellets the size of like cars or something like that. I don't know, but just where when you can punch through the armor with the LRM and the ER PPC and now start hitting with the clusters, like, yeah, wow, interesting. A lot more tactical flexibility on there. So of course your choice of what you want to load based on the mission, but that with the jump jets, with the weight class, with the mobility, it's just well-rounded. It's just a solid mech that we're going to look to exploit the weaknesses of our opponent, or if you specifically have something in your star pushing forward, you've got a core backbone. You've got something that you can build off of. And I believe this is one of the 5 mechs that if you're playing clans, even if you're not Jade Falcon, we'll work in a deal. We'll get you a couple of summoners in there, that it has a place in your collection, and it's going to be solid and always push out really, really good dividends for you.